Hello and welcome. It is the going into the 14th day of September 2017. Let's do an altcoin update. But before we do, let's take a look at the Dow Jones ETF DIA from the most of the year 2016. But what's worth noticing is notice how long it took to go from this 162 low, which occurred near the end of February of 2016, to reach 192, which occurred at the start of December within the year, and the amount of days that were traded. Okay, I'm going to start this off with ABY Artbyte on the 1 minute time frame. And it had a high of 192 just less than an hour ago, and it came down to 162 about 15 minutes ago. And you see a lot of these types of moves, the look of this chart, that tells you the low volume that comes with it, and the extreme volatility as well. And the only real way you can get any decent profits on this is finding some ways of selling in here, and you can get it back cheaper. Or noticing, well, obviously selling in here, but noticing the rallies coming in. You know, it makes it very difficult to determine, oh, this market has just risen well from, well, in this case, 167 to 192. That's 23 points, or about 15% over about 15 minutes. But when you're at this point, are you expecting, okay, I expect in the next 15, 20 minutes will drop down below 170. You really can never know that. And that's why if it's just up, when I see it up like this, I got the more bias to, I'd rather sell in here and buy in here, basically, for myself. Let's look at this more longer term, because this is the 1 minute time frame. And when I see the string, I don't know what word to use. So I was going to say stringy action. I guess I will use it. Where you see often these things have a lot of these kinds of days. That really lets you know that if it has decent moves on the daily time frame above the 18 average, to sell. In fact, if all you did with this chart was buy when it's noticeably below the 18 average of lows and sell when it's noticeably above, well, from the start of this, it looks pretty obvious that the net result within this situation is buying here, selling here. I guess if you don't have tokens, you can't sell in here, but there's a few opportunities to buy. And if you did, maybe you might sell here and maybe you don't. But what you definitely would be able to do is buy in here, sell in here. If you get this low, you're going to get this high. And of course, when you sell in here, you might sell at 186 or in here. But if you sell at 184 or whatever, you can easily buy back at 174. And then again, when you look at this situation in here, two opportunities without an opportunity to sell, to buy. And then, of course, if those opportunities to buy have now been sold. And, of course, we need to see it go below this as a way of buying. And when you look at charts that are doing things like that when they spend a lot of time within the average, when they get above it, they'll get, or below it, they'll, well, relatively quickly get back within it, then that's basically the trend. You buy below, you sell above. At least that's what I would do. On the daily time frame, I know this is the problem with trading view at prices under 100, but we don't need that information for this importance as it is. But we can see it here, a move that got well above the 18 average. Took a few days, but it comes back to the band. Well above it again. 3 days later, back within the band. 3 days in a row in which it pierced above it, and each day making it back within the band. Other than, well, this day it really didn't. But you can see here, fast moves higher, back within. Nothing in here that can give you any glory, if you will. But let's look at this at a mathematical level on the strategy in which I talk about, where you buy when the market's going up and you sell, or you sell when it's going up and you buy at the cheaper prices. So just use the basis of having these sell orders in here. So there's 3 of them that would have gotten hit. So, okay, just put a level below it. This gets hit here. You can see how all 3 of these buy orders, or all these 3 sell orders, if you do this to this, this to somewhere here, and this to somewhere here, you would have bought back every single time. Chance to sell many of those orders here. You put your buy orders back in. Simple. And here's a spot where once you put buy orders in, yeah, you're going to put your sell orders in, but they ain't going to hit. Well, not until this happens. And then there's more buy orders that can hit. And when these buy orders hit, it gives you the opportunity to sell in here. And if you sell in here, you can buy back in here, maybe sell here, buy back here, sell here, which would eventually got bought back here. All of these sell orders, of course, would have got sold here. And if you bought here, maybe you sold in here. Of course, you would have bought back. And if you're using this strategy, you'd be doing nothing for about a month now. There's a whole bunch of nothing going on, because within this strategy, for the last bit of time, you'd probably maybe have, I don't know, maybe buy orders. Well, maybe not here, but wherever. You have like maybe some in here, but nothing's broke below this average, so you don't got any buy orders within the range. And you got maybe a sell order here. Well, definitely you want to have one within this range. I'd probably want to put a couple in here. One here. Definitely one in here. So you have a whole bunch of these orders in, but that's exactly the way a portfolio would be during this whole duration of time. And for myself, if I got a whole bunch of different codes, I don't got the time to look at all of these charts and just go through these analysis every day on them. But what I will note is if I have a strategy like this with buy orders below, sell orders above, and nothing is going on, I'll forget about this code. Then all of a sudden one day I'll get a notification, either buy order, we'll say at like 133, or sell order at 230. It's gonna, and then I'll know, okay, well, if I see sell order 230, I know the market's rallying. And then you play for such if need be. Let's move on to Monero, which is next. And I'm only going to do a few codes given that we're already 8 minutes in. And we look at it on its daily chart. I've said this many times, and I'm probably going to keep saying it, and it's going to keep happening. When these cryptos, and I pretty much mean every single one of them, when they're ready to go, they are just going to go and lift off. And how do you prepare for that? Is there any way of knowing down in here that they're going to go? Or even during the early stages of this rally, that the rally is going to be a monstrous one? I'll never know that. And if you know the fundamentals behind the scene, maybe you can know this or that. But for me, I'm going to have situations where I had a sell order here. They're still waiting to be bought. And then, of course, all of these ones in here, well, you know the picture. These ones got bought back. And the ones that got sold in here, same thing again. So for myself, I just sold here. Where do I buy back? Back at 28. Right back where a congestion area is. So that's what I have done. I sold pretty much right at this top. And it's not like I thought, oh, that's a good place to go. No, that's a number I chose during one of my last buy orders, probably somewhere in here. I would have bought here. Okay, buy 26. Okay, sell like 30 something. And then I'd probably have, without even checking, I know I'd have a sell order somewhere around here. And if it does go down below these levels, I'll be ready to buy with, you know what, buy orders. And for myself, if I can't afford to put like, I can't really afford to put all of these buy orders in. I could definitely can afford to put the sell orders in, because what else would I going to do with the Monero that I have? But I can't always afford to have like all of these buy orders in. So sometimes I'll just have one, maybe two. Because I realize if a situation comes in and I say I have a buy order at 22 and it hits, then I'm going to make two new orders. One, I'd probably put a sell order somewhere around here, and then I'll place another buy order. Maybe I'll place it at around 18.5. And then, of course, if this one hits next, I'll place a sell order above, and then I'll place another buy order, and then so on and so forth. Then let's take a look at Monero on a, first a shorter term time frame, then we'll move to the more longer term. But before we do that, just the most obvious thing, you come back, correctionary phase, leaving the band. It's a very bullish setup. So we take a look at this within a 4-hour time frame. This is the very long congestion period. So if you're day trading this would have put you to sleep throughout the week, during this week. But things have changed. Things have changed. Not much volume, to say the least, as of yet. If there's things, this, I don't know. That surprises me actually that this is happening on low volume. So I'm not going to say anything more based on that, but I do see it leaving this band. I have seen, as far as resistance, we had this point. So that's one of the more recent terms. And as far as where resistance would come up to, you'd have about a key 61.8% Fibonacci level, maybe around in here. But like I stated before, when these things go, they can often decide to go. And how can you tell if this breakout's going to be a move or just goes like this and does that, or if this thing is just going to break out to like 46 handle? Let's look at this more long term now. And this will be the weekly chart, and this thing could get pretty interesting. And it's a very beautiful bullish pattern, to say the least. Going back to last year, when these things move, yeah, I've said it, yada, 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 yada. That's a Seinfeld quote. Resistance had a very good pullback. I mean, volatile, to say the least. 27 handle down to about the 6 or so handle. What happens if you heard the stock market going from 27,000 to 6,000? Or that would, and this is just a small move. And then you have a little bit of nice little move in here, staying within the band, but a repeat of previous levels. So now twice hit, correctionary phase, almost here, but definitely another hit in here, another correctionary phase, and fourth hit. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3. This period in here, the previous week, support, where resistance was found, and I see a green candle starting to move higher. This definitely has the potential to get going, and like I've stated again, time after time again, it's got the potential where you could see a span of like 2 to 4 weeks, 1 week even, like 5-6 days even, 12 days, I don't know, some short period of time where this thing could fly like 40, 50, well past the 40s, probably even past the 50s, 60s area as a decent estimate. Because, and who knows how much higher than that, because here's a spot where from bottom it goes from 17 and then it goes up to the next number above that, like 14 times or something. 14 times from here, that would just be insane, because it's only done better than 2.5 times right now. But again, a very bullish pattern, to say the least. Let's try to make this a 20-minute video and put some more charts up. Let's move on to ARC, and when these things are ready to go, that's what this is doing. To say this is overextended would be an overstatement. I don't know, this thing will stop going up when it stops going up, but it could definitely go up more. The buyers are in control of the market. But we see so many times when this leaves the band really high, you have a big push, you're going to have a pullback at some point. Let's move on to the next chart. Take a look at Civic next, and I only got so much data that I can only put this is a daily time frame, but you do see after the big pump going from 5,000 Satoshi, 4xing it to about 20, that it pulled back close to where it was, but we can see the flatlining band, resistance has already been established, and maybe there could be some decent momentum breaking through, but at least if you see it on the early stages above this area here, you should at least come to a test towards this area. Let's take a look at this with a normal view on a shorter term time frame. Doing such on the 1 hour, and within the reversal of trend, step 1, band flatten out. Step 2, establish resistance. Step 3, come back. Step 4, break it. Okay, we're right there. We're now on step 4. So, therefore, there could be some easy short-term pullback maybe down towards here, but I think this definitely has the potential to, at least within the next 3-4 hours, 6-7 hours even, come up to this point. More likely than not, and then of course more likely than not by 6 a.m., 7 a.m., you should come up to the 11.6 to the 12 area because of the step 4 is just broken past this resistance. It's only done so barely, and I would expect further gain because of such, and of course towards those levels as the probable target. PTOY is next, and it's also the 1 hour time frame, and when these things are ready to go, yep, this one again, maybe there's another leg higher ready for such. After all, there's been one large one as it broke this resistance at around the 96 or so, 97 handle from the low of the 9,000 mark, coming up to 12 with a small amount of correction, and then from that small correction to burst up to close to 15. So a move from 9,000 to 15 from the low. That's a gain of a mere, what's that, like 65% around? And I say mere because in the world of cryptos, that practically is. So a mere retracement going from 15,000 to 12,000. I started this off with the Dow Jones. Remember the back in the days when the Dow Jones would lose go from 15 to 12 or something? Everyone panics. This happens over 4 hours. And now it's leaving this band. That's why I state, is it ready for another leg higher? I've seen so many times after a big move like this that it comes down here, you get that little push that makes usually a lower high. It can even be a matching high, and rarely a higher high that will pull back and maybe cause some sideways action or just even fall down. And then, of course, revert the trend as goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, like a lot of these do. But usually breaking past this level here, which is why it's rare that it would go up here and then come back lower. But if it does break 15,000, it'll probably have a decent leg higher after that. It also is short on data for the daily time frame, but I don't need it again. I can see all I need here. Well, if you're looking for a long-term buy order, markets, if that's going to come back to where it came from, this is where it came from. But it has broken the resistance. It has done so noticeably. Whether there's going to be further extension, there could be, but there has to be a correction at some point. I'll be looking for a correction, of course, within this 18 average. And let's do maybe one more or two more charts. And this is EMC2 on the daily time frame. And it's been down quite a bit after making it to this 4,000 high. And again, another high around 3,200, down below 1,000 still. After it was at 600, so 600 to 941, there's a gain of over 50%. But throwing that part aside, looking at what's needed for the reversal of trend, every single time it's gotten above this 18 average in here, it has pulled back. Is this going to be one of these other times? Well, we've got this little bit of volume. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to be that of a key reversal, but it very easily could be that it has had a decent size green candle up move after a long period of not so much going on. You look at the size of these candles in comparison to what was going on before. The market momentum is totally within a different change. We have a major resistance established and at the 12 level that maybe if you're looking for maybe further confidence or just further probability odds, you wait for price action to get in here, look for a better setup after price gets towards that point. Maybe you take a chance thinking, okay, this looks good, 941, I know risk reward. I know there's lots of areas in which I can get very big profit potentials from. Let's finish this video off by looking at this on a short-term time frame. And this is the 1 hour. And if you would have just shown me this chart, not tell me what it is, don't even tell me these numbers, I would have said, oh, this must be some sort of gold or silver or dollar index chart or something, because whenever there's a big move, oh, they like to scare you before the big move happens. Oh, also, by the way, I don't know if I've let you know, but when these markets are ready to go, they can have some big moves. And of course, I've let you know that before, but another case of it doing such, the sideways consolidation that has occurred since. After that, it's either got to make a move to the upside or downside. The move has been to the downside, but hasn't went down much. It has a possibility of this level being a mark of resistance and short term if there's any further decline. I'm the type of person, if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm so tempted that if it gets to anywhere within this point, 800 to 850, that if I buy here, I could probably easily get a sale in here. That's the type of thinking that I have. But again, if you think this thing is going to revert, it's definitely cheap. But like all these things, is risk reward. And anything you do is based on your own risk and own reward. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.